makes you believe that the Chinese are going to act any different in keeping commitments in this area than they have failed to do in keeping commitments under the WTO, particularly in the area of intellectual property rights?
I think there's a very big difference between the WTO agreement and the climate change agreement. As I said earlier and detailed in my testimony, there are strong motivations and driving forces propelling China to agree to some sort of international climate negotiations that are unrelated to just growing its economy or competitiveness concerns. In fact, they believe that improving their energy efficiency is going to increase their global competitiveness. And I would also say that there is a lot of common ground here that I think needs to be explored in China's desire to move away from its high energy consuming industries, which are responsible for the largest percentage of their energy, of their carbon emissions.
I can quote Ma Kai, who is the head of China's National Development Reform Commission, that says, "Our general stance is that China will not commit to any quantified emission reductions target." And that's what the chief Chinese negotiator told me when I met with him in Poznan. Now, energy efficiency and reducing greenhouse gas reductions are two separate and distinct issues. And China is now emitting more greenhouse gases than the United States. So, you know, maybe the Chinese are believing their own press releases, but giving their track record, I can say that I read their press releases and, you know, I don't believe them. Now, that being said, given the unanimous vote in the Senate before Kyoto in 1997 and the fact that a treaty requires a two-thirds vote to ratify, what we're talking about here, how do you get it ratified, particularly when China is talking about this wealth transfer as mandatory spending, which effectively makes China the recipient of a new foreign aid entitlement program?
Well, you quoted the comments made by the chief negotiator in China at the international climate agreements. And I would just say to you that it's, for anybody who's spent any time in China, you have to understand that China, at least to my mind, has some of the best negotiators in the world. And so what you're seeing is their negotiating position. And of course, I would suggest that they're not necessarily going to make concessions at this stage in the negotiations until there is some, opportunity for reaching a deal.
Well,
and I think it's important.
My time is running out. You know, let me say that given the last meeting in Poznan that lasted from 6 p.m. until 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, the Third World, led by China, was asking for more money. And this is money that the First World doesn't have. Our economy's in the tank, so is Europe's. So aren't we talking about an academic exercise here? Because I don't know who's going to vote for a treaty that ends up transferring $1 trillion of U.S. money to China and India.
I think there's been a real sea change since Poznan that has been brought about by the new administration here as forward.
Well, I've got a minute left. I am looking at submissions that have been made to the UNFCCC by China and India last month in February, which was after the change in administration. Now, maybe the administration has changed its negotiating policy, but certainly China and India haven't. And I think one of the reasons why Kyoto failed was because even President Clinton, who signed the Kyoto Protocol, recognized that it was unratifiable and thus never submitted to the Senate for its consideration. I guess my point is to do anything in this area, we're going to have to do something that is politically feasible as well as accomplishing something. And I heard the comment of shooting for the stars and hitting the moon. I think that probably the way we're going now is that this rocket will crash 100 kilometers downrange because of overestimations of what can be accomplished. Remember, you do need a two-thirds vote in the Senate. My time's expired.
The gentleman's time has expired. Although if you'd like more, uh, the gentleman is a very good lawyer.